Yeah, mate, just another update down here, talking to Adrian Burgess. Now, they've still got this championship leading car sitting in the garage here, and they're still throwing electronic bits at it. They want to just be sure to be sure. There's no sense setting it out and sitting it up at the end of the grid and mucking around with it. So he tells me they're going to push it out here on the start of the formation lap. Remembering, if they don't achieve that, if they leave this car here and then choose to push it up there after the 5-second board goes up, i.e. the race comes under starters' orders, they won't be allowed to start the race. So they'll have to get up there pretty soon.
You were in this car a couple of weeks ago, Scafey. Your thoughts?
I mean, this is seriously, nothing would be more stressful for a race team right now than having the series leading car parked in there. You don't know what's wrong with it, and you know at the point when it leaves the garage, your hands you're tied. You're done. You've got to send the car down there and get it on with racing. I mean, it's an extraordinary circumstance, isn't it?
Craig Lowndes had that look on his face. We often mention that he's always got the smile on his face, but you know, even when the smile, I mean, he was smiling to Larko, but you could see the grimace underneath that. He knows how much this is hurting. That is the Craig Lowndes hurting look. When he goes quiet, he's just sitting there. There's nothing he can do. Andy Priaulx, there's nothing he can do. It's all in the hands of Team Vodafone.
Well, there's a big chance for this margin that he enjoys in the championship to immediately swing back the other way as a result of it. So it's just the snakes and ladders of the business. He went into Bathurst 92 points down on his teammate. He came out the other side 100 points up. And these are the curveballs that get thrown at you from time to time.
It's the first time in 5 years that Craig has led the championship back to October 2006. After this event was the last time that he left a weekend leading the title race. And of course, he hasn't won a championship in 12 years. He's a three-time winner, 96, 98 and 99.
2-minute signal, 2-minute signal.
There you go. He's getting the technical rundown now from Larko. That'll help him.
Yeah, that's all you need, isn't it?
Fascinating front row, this. Car 88 and car 2. Sebastian Bourdais behind the wheel. Winner of the Indy Gold Coast race here in 2005 and 2007. And next to him, a bloke called Ryan Briscoe, winner of the Indy race here in 2008.
Now, just trying to get a quick update. Craig and I having a quick chat here. One of the upshots of this, if there is an upshot, we can start to think about the alternate strategy. We're just running through a few.
Yeah, look, multiple tyre use tomorrow, as long as it's dry. It looks like the boys are going to attempt to try and get him out there, obviously, for the start of the race. Who knows whether they've found the problem or not.
Yeah, well, we're only a couple of minutes away from the start, mate, but from what I can see, the boys are leaning on the bonnet, so she's nearly ready to go.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, that's good news, but as we said before, that is massively stressful. Craig will be sitting there. I mean, he probably, whether you're in the car or not in the car, the reality of it is that you're not sure whether it's going to be a goer or not.
A minute to go before they get ready to take on this race. So let's run you through the Fuso grid and check out our international drivers along the way. Pole position for Whincup and Bourdais, Tander and Ryan Briscoe alongside them on the front row of this grid. A staggered starting grid is here. Position 3, Will Davison and Mika Salo, Steve Owen and Boris Said, NASCAR driver from the US, starting that car 49. Positions 5 and 6, Alex Davison and Mark Lieb from Germany. James Moffat teamed up this weekend with Joey Hand. That is James's best V8 Supercar qualifier. Frenchman Simon Pagenaud will get the job started for Lee Holdsworth, car 33. Rick Kelly is paired with Jörg Bergmeister. Back to positions 9 and 10. Shane Van Gisbergen with Emanuele Pirro and James Courtney with Darren Turner. Of course, Dan Weldon was to have been in that car. Darren Turner getting a late call-up.
Looking further afield, we've got Fabian Coulthard with Pat Long, who's a terrific young guy, great credentials. Further back again, we saw Russell Ingall on the grid with Jan Magnussen, who's done an awful lot of international motorsport at the highest level, including Formula One. Michael Caruso with Augusto Farfus from Brazil. He's a BMW factory driver. This is the big question mark car, Lowndes and Priaulx. It's one thing to send it to the end of the pit lane. It's another as to whether or not it will be okay. Gilles de Ferrens with Jonathan Webb. Mark Winterbottom is driving with Richard Lyons as a last-minute replacement for Will Power. Ollie Gavin is with Greg Murphy, the Pepsi Max crew car. Marino Franchitti, the Scot, will team up with Warren Luff. Dirk Muller, BMW factory driver, will be with Stephen Johnson. And looking a little further beyond that, Fabrizio Giovanardi is driving with Carl Reindler. Richard Westbrook is driving with Todd Kelly. And we don't have enough telecast time to go through some of the things that all of these guys have achieved. Christian Klein, Formula One driver, currently in the Aston Martin program, driving with Paul Dumbrell. Elio Castro Neves, multiple Indy 500 winner with Tim Slade. Antonio Liuzzi driving for Hispania Racing at the moment with Tony D'Alberto. He's off to India next weekend. Alan Simonson drafted into the last moment to replace Tony Kanaan with Jason Bargwanna. Gianni Morbidelli is driving with Dean Fiore. Stefan Sarrazin, who's one of the factory Peugeot drivers with Jason Bright. He just came from testing in Portugal last weekend. So there's so many stories and so many other things. That there's Liuzzi at the wheel of the Wilson Security Falcon. There are so many other stories to tell, you know, going back to that little thing that we did about the cars before. This guy, for example, he's accustomed to driving a racing car which we describe as having a steer tyre on it. We don't have those in V8 Supercar. All 4 tyres are the same. Here's Mika Salo, and he's on board the Trading Post racing entry. Oh, sorry, Richard Lyons. He's on board at Ford Performance Racing this weekend. He's been drafted in as well. And most of these guys that have come from overseas, boys, as you know, are accustomed to spending time driving race cars with paddle shifts. It's not even a question of whether or not the gear lever's in the other hand. It's like, hang on.
There's one there.
Well, if you pull the paddles behind the steering wheel on most of these cars, you'll talk to somebody on the radio, which won't change gear, but it might amuse you blokes back in the lane.
It will be fascinating to see how they all cope with the variances and nuances of a V8 supercar.
It's Mark Dutton.
Okay, guys, this AAA car obviously down here at the end of pit lane, ready to go now. The guys have changed everything again, as we said. And listen, hang on. So you can hear that. The car actually sounds good, and it didn't sound good in the garage. So that's a good sign. But I've got to say, the boys look me in the eye. They are not 100% sure. They just don't know. It's a tough one.
Thanks for that, Larko. We're all deaf after putting the microphone as close as you possibly can. Don't forget, Big Pond Sport will have you covered if you need to leave us on 7 or 7 mate throughout the day. You catch all your coverage of this race.
Now, I heard as I was coming back from the grid walk, you know, Mark Scaife talking about the fact that, you know, there are a whole variety of different drivers in these cars, many of which don't do standing starts, certainly not in these cars.
Bourdais at the front, Ryan Briscoe, the Australian, next to him, Mika Salo and Boris Said on the second row of the grid, and Mark Lieb, the German, couldn't get it away. But a good start from Sebastian Bourdais as the world comes to the V8 supercars. They go down to turns 1, 2 and 3. So Mark Lieb, the first casualty off the starting grid. Most of them have to spear through on the right-hand side.
Hero did a very good job to get around the sister car from within the Stone Brothers garage, so he jumped to the left and cleared the problem that Mark Lieb had. Relatively clean. We thought more of them might have had a bit of a struggle off the line. Castro Neves has struggled. He's gone backwards.
Bourdais leads through Salo. There's Briscoe. And car 888. Oh.
No, it's still not,
it's still going.
Right.
Andy Priaulx just cannot get this thing working properly. That intermittent problem will just not go away. So around turn 11.
So the 2 guys that struggled, Mark Lieb and Gilles de Ferran, struggled also. Both those guys lost big chunks of time. Good start here from Salo to get through.
On Ryan Briscoe, there's Boris Said. Then Joey Hearn, Pirot, Long, Bergmeister, Turner. So Lieb has gone back towards the back end of the top 10 after starting from 5th. First lap around they go.
Starting out with cold tyres, no tyre warmers in this category. Many of them are accustomed to having pre-warmed tyres on their cars, so it's going to take them a moment to come to terms with that. With a heavier fuel load, remember they've got the big fuel cells in them this weekend. We're under endurance racing rules, and oh, that was so close into turn 1. That was Giovanardi with it all locked up. I thought he was going to tag Gilles de Ferran. Gilles hasn't done a race now for some time. He's in semi-retirement. I walked out of the driver prep area down to the garages with him, and he said, oh, I'm trying to remember my little sequence of all the things that matter. You know, be afraid, get your heart rate up, get it back under control.
It is difficult, isn't it? I mean, it's something for Gilles, who's not driving all the time, it would be a really tough ask.
Wow.
This is championship-changing stuff. We said this last year.
With potentially a 150-point swing in this if it falls completely to the sister car in the garage to 88. That's not by any means bankable, that statement, just yet, but that's what could happen.
So the 4-time champ car champion Sebastian Bourdais, the Frenchman, born and lives in Le Mans, has had so much success around this circuit, was a standout last year now at Team Vodafone in Jamie Whincup's car. Got it off the start brilliantly and has skipped away by almost 2 seconds after 2 laps of this race. So let's check out the start. Vodafone get off to a good one. 3 back behind him is Mark Lieb in the Irwin Tools entry. Good job for Emanuele Pirro to get around him on the left-hand side. That's great reaction from the 49-year-old Italian.
Nice launch here for Salo. He did a good job. I mean, you could tell by the way it was just rattling there in the onboard that he just had a lot of revs on. He didn't worry about it being a pristine start. He just looked for wheel spin, get it launched and get it going rather than bogging down your big enemy in one of these cars.
And when you see it from Mika Salo's view, you probably say that he got the best start. I mean, Bourdais got a good start, but by virtue of being on pole position, had clear track in front of him. Salo could well have been in position 1 by turn 1. Looking at the rear of Boris Said's car to Joey Hand. So 2 Americans. Line astern, 4th and 5th.
And the guys who were the real winners there, Pirro and Patrick Long made 3 and 4 positions. The real losers were Mark Lieb with 5 spots lost, and Simon Pagenaud had lost 7 spots based on their starting position.
What a shot.
265 kilometres an hour into that gentle right-hand curve into turn 1. I'm also hearing that race control will levy a holding penalty for Pirro at the end of the first stop of 10 seconds for jumping the start in the SP Tools entry. So this impacts Shane Van Gisbergen.
Sorry, mate. Said is under attack there. So Joey Hand got around him. Pirro got around him. Behind him is Patrick Long. The Americans are ganging up on one of their own, and in between them is a man who's almost at his half-century, Emanuele Pirro. Spoke to him this morning on the way to the track. He said he only started to feel relaxed or comfortable in the car in the last laps that he did yesterday. Wow, he's not showing it today. He got a great start, and now he's up there fighting towards the top 5. Some good action here. Mark Lieb, Alex Tagliani, Magnussen and Farfus Jr. So there's a bit of a freight train coming at the rear end of the top 10.
And Neil and I have done a fair bit of racing against Emanuele Pirro, and he was, for those who could remember, probably the #1 BMW driver in the world in touring cars, wasn't he, in the late 80s and early 90s. So fantastic racing driver, huge pedigree, Le Mans winner in recent times with Audi, and a guy that will do a very good, solid job, up to 5th position now in the Shane Van Gisbergen Falcon.
And look out for Patrick Long. He is making a good move in the Bundy entry with Fabian Coulthard this weekend, car 61. If you're with us last year at the Armour All Gold Coast 600, the name Patrick Long just kept jumping out at us. We didn't know much about him. He was written off by a lot of people. 30 years of age, out of Florida, drives in the American Le Mans Series, and he's really making a statement again.
On the subject of statements, I made one about Pirro and the penalty that he'll take at the first stop. You can also include in that at the moment Mika Salo. So both cars 6 and 9 are going to have to sit still for an extra 10 seconds for the false start. So they're basically rolling, or they've crossed that white line at the start before the official start got underway.
So Bourdais from Salo, Briscoe, Joey Hand, Emanuele Pirro, Patrick Long, Boris Said, Bergmeister, Turner and Lieb. That's your top 10 cars. Now, we just saw the battle with Magnussen, Tagliani and Augusto Farfus Jr. really on in the middle of the field for 11th, 12th and 13th position. So good pace with Bourdais. There was Salo, that's Briscoe. There's Joey Hand driving with James Moffat, Emanuele Pirro and Patrick Long.
There's Boris Said. What about his tweet earlier today? V8 supercar drivers drive like crazed Doberman pinchers with hand grenades in their mouths.
Well, he's about to find out, because there's a big queue of cars behind him, and this will be a very serious part of the race, because you need to get through this race. Remember, it's a long event, 300 Ks. They're all blocking each other and now running into each other. That's Mark Lieb. That was Tagliani into the left-hand rear door So it's on. There's Shane Van Gisbergen shaking his head saying these boys play for keeps.
Why did I give him my car?
That's right.
And managing this is very important because it just keep coming back to championship all the time. So, you know, we just can't look at it as a race in isolation for a bit of fun. It's one important race in 28, and tomorrow it becomes 2 of 28. 300 points up for grabs.
Patrick Long, fastest man out on the circuit, a 1:13.9. He is 6th. But our race leader is Jamie Whincup's partner, Sebastian Bourdais. Off to a great start under clear skies at the Armour All Gold Coast 600.
Emanuele, we are position 5. We are position 5. Stop it.
I think the Fujitsu car just run me straight into the first chicane, shortcut, and he caused the flat car.
Alright, this is all mate.
Yet again, the streets of Surfers Paradise come alive, but this time it's a full international mix. 28 international drivers out there. Just confirming Tony Liuzzi did start for car number 3. We thought Tony D'Alberto was going to be the only regular in the mix. They made a last-minute change there. Sebastian Bourdais is our race leader, just done the fastest lap, 1:13.6.
And we saw contact in the... A bit more contact about to come here. So this is a drama for Augusto Farfus with Alex Tagliani into the first corner. There was contact there. There was damage to the left front. And in the end, they've come in and put a full set of tyres on. So it's punctured the tyre. Might have given the steering a tweak also. And we also saw the same car make contact with car 4, Mark Lieb. And there's reports that the left-hand rear door is coming open on the Irwin Tools Falcon as a consequence.
Richard Westbrook, we just saw for Jack Daniels Racing, who's Todd Kelly's partner this weekend, making a bit of a move. He's down in 20th spot. There he is. Just gets ahead of Marino Franchitti, who's Warren Luff's partner. So Elio Castro Neves has come in for lucky 7.
Okay, right side's done. Right side's done. Clear.
Only just then. Almost stalled.
So this is Liuzzi. This guy was the Formula 3000 champion in 2004. And he's been through a succession of Formula 1 teams. Just hasn't been in the right place at the right time in his Formula 1 career. But in the mid-2000s, it looked like he was going to rocket to the top. You know, he had a run there with Red Bull. He also with Toro Rosso, more recently with Force India, and got barreled out of Force India. Well, he makes a mistake down at turn 1, and he's now turned up at HRT, which always confuses us in this part of the world because I didn't see him wearing red. But he was under pressure. He was looking in his mirrors a lot down into 1 then, and he was getting monstered and ended up just locking the rears into the first chicane.
Darren Turner just got past Boris Said. You were riding with Boris and whacked one of the bollards there around the back chicane. So Turner, who first saw a V8 supercar on Wednesday at Ipswich, after flying in, getting the call on Monday and flying straight in, is now pushing through in James Courtney's entry. Talk about pushing. Ollie Gavin in the Pepsi Max crew is also doing some panel rubbing. These guys are making the most of their time in V8 supercars.
For many of them, also, that you can't afford to touch like that in most other types of cars. Certainly in the single-seaters or sports cars, quite difficult. So when they're in some cases when they're receiving, they're immediately also doing a bit of sending.
I'll tell you what, Sebastian Bourdais is sending himself so far ahead of the field at the moment. He is on a blinding run, 4.5 seconds clear of Mika Salo in second place. So look at this for Ollie Gavin. Poor old Mark Leaves just been under attack since the start. He's now down in 13th after starting from 5th. And Alex Davison is watching a few positions go by. So we've got 28 regular drivers all in pit lane, waiting to the 34-lap mark to get back into these cars.
Waiting to see what gets handed back to them on the plate at the end. It's an interesting question for some, isn't it? So if you just think about this from a championship standpoint at the moment, this is all very good news for Jamie Whincup. Car 88, commanding lead, 5.1 seconds. Sebastian continues to open the margin. This is Pat Long, who was probably the standout import here last year when he drove for Gary Rogers. He's driving with Fabian Coulthard, and he's attacking big time Manueli Pirro at the moment. Mark made the point before about Manueli. He drove for Charlie Lamb in the Schnitzer BMW team, and he had the Plum touring car ride back in that period. And then when his career moved him ultimately across to Audi and put him in their sports car program, there was just a period where those guys, the group around him, were just the golden group. They just won everything. 5 Le Mans 24-hour victories for him, just staggering. He was a superhero in Europe.
Pat Long's lining him up. I know Pat speaks 4 languages. I don't know if Italian's one of them, but he may well be saying ciao to Manueli in a minute and get this position, which is 5th position on the track.
And just reiterating the point that this blue car, 9, Pirro at the helm at the moment, has got to take a 10-second penalty at the first stop, and he was crossed up big time. And in fact, I think Pat actually made contact with him. There's a little ripple in the bonnet in the Bundy entry. So remember, this man on screen, top left corner, is 3rd at the moment, and so he'll be well aware of the penalty, and they're 5th at the moment, and that's going to knock them down the order.
You can let him go, Emanuele. Let him go. There is a big gap behind him. 4 seconds behind him. Let him go if you want.
That's very good advice, very sound advice, because at this point in the race, it will only end in tears. One of the things also, our racing regulations are effectively the same all around the world in terms of the racecraft, but we do have slightly different determinations in terms of the way that the racing is conducted, the way the overtaking manoeuvres are done, and how much blocking's allowed. Probably anywhere in the world, we have the lowest amount of blocking. So Emanuele was told at the driver's briefing last night, you can only block once, you can't do it twice.
Emanuele was just told, let him go if you want. And I think all he heard was, if I want. No, I don't. Because he's certainly not stepping aside.
They've just given him another fuel mixture number to fiddle with, and he immediately looked down at the steering wheel then to adjust that. And so they've also got to work strategy in this phase of the race as well. This is the battle for 5th and 6th at the moment. Pat Long in the Bundy entry. Oh, we've got a problem here for Marino Franchitti. He's gone straight ahead, position 24. He's got it out, found reverse. He was really uncomfortable in the car yesterday.
Just bent the steering completely. Steering is really bad.
So he's going to probably have to come in and look at that. He enjoyed the test at Queensland Raceway on Wednesday. Has there been contact here? Morbidelli, yes, is the answer to that rhetorical question. So, and that just tripped him up at very low speed into the tyre wall down there.
Pat Long has gone around Pirro now, so Long moves up to 5th position. It's been a terrific job after starting 11th on the grid, but Sebastian Bourdais out of Team Vodafone is the car to catch right now. More than 5 seconds clear of 2nd place in this race. The championship may well be changing this afternoon.
Okay, copy that, Mark. We're monitoring that. See you there. Complete. 16, complete.
V8 Supercars live on 7 and 7 Mate here at Surfers Paradise. And have we got a race on our hands? These internationals are tangling and tagging each other, and Lieb cops another punch. He has been bashed and battered since the start of this race.
Trying to get the car back in the
Been absolutely under attack and now finds himself in the tyre wall.
So I think that was Lyons.
Yeah, absolutely.
Actually made contact with him there.
And he fired him in.
Yeah, at the final corner.
And he should be penalised for this. You can see he had the wheel locked. He can't stop.
Yeah, so
Fired straight into the back of Mark Lieb and into the Armour All catch fence on the outside. So have a look, another look. You watch. Lyons can't pull up, so he's at the right-hand front wheel locked, and then can't, and just pushes him straight off into the fence. It's very narrow there, and we've seen a lot of cars in that fence through the course of the weekend. But he should be penalised for that one, because that was a clear breach
So more damage now, this time to the Irwin Tools car as Mark Lee comes back in, and Alex Davison will not be a happy camper after a pretty good qualifier inside the top 10. There's Alex. Of course, Richard Lyons knows his way around V8 supercars. He was with us at Bathurst, finished 13th with Jonathan Webb. And look at the damage to the front right-hand side of that car.
It's a lot of damage. There's a lot of damage. Yeah. And I mean, it's always, we sort of say, oh, it's low speed, but, you know, under normal circumstances, that parks your car for a week in a panel shop. You know, it's just a massive amount. Here it is. It's sort of been going on for a while, this one. It's been brewing. This is 2 corners back, and there was actually a little bit of contact there. So there you go, Tim Schenken, race director, calling the penalty there for Richard. I mean, he was never going to get up the inside there in the final corner, so a bit strange, especially seeing he spent a weekend in the cars at Bathurst, so he's one of the guys that's got a little bit more seat time in a V8. Richard's a former Formula Nippon, which is the old Formula 3000 in Japan category, and Super GT over there, so he's done a lot of racing, but not so much in the recent past. He's just down a few kilometres in the last season or two, but certainly not so long back, he's done a huge amount. And
remember, he wasn't meant to be driving here this weekend. Will Power had that drive lined up alongside Mark Winterbottom, and we hope that Will's okay. I know he's suffered some damage in that crash at Vegas last week, and Will, wherever you are, we hope you're resting up and you're okay for the rest of the year.
Yeah, guys, Alex Davison here. Alex, that just breaks your heart.
It's nothing worse than watching your car get crashed up when you're sitting in the garage, you can't do anything about it. Poor Mark got pretty beat up in that stint, and Tagliani belting him in the door, and it's wrecked all the exhaust, so he was struggling for power. And then Richard Lyons just put him into the fence, so bloody frustrating. We had a great qualifying, you know, we got in the shootout, started really well, but we have to do it all again tomorrow now.
Thanks, Alan.
Cheers.
Yeah, well, the 888 car of Craig Lowndes and Andy Priaulx has just left the pit lane again. Sounds fine, but gee whiz, this guy, this time they've changed bits of wiring loom. I saw the whole switch panel out of the centre of the car with all the switches on it, so they've really got stuck into it. And gee whiz, if this time doesn't fix it, I don't know what.
And one of the things for them, and everybody in the field, Mark, as you know, is that they come back from Bathurst, and because Bathurst is such a big event, puts so much mileage on the cars, they've all been through a massive rebuild. I mean, basically, very little on the cars that carries over. So they're it's like a jigsaw or a Meccano set. The things have been in a million bits in between times. In fact, we only really see them as assembled as a car at these race meetings. The rest of the time, they're just 1,001 bits. And so when you go through that process, which they do frequently, but when you go through a big rebuild like they have off the back of Bathurst, these sorts of things can occasionally creep in. And when they get to the bottom of it, I guarantee you it'll be annoyingly simple.
Yeah, oh, no doubt. There'll be something simple for sure. It's always like that, Neil, isn't it? So this is a great battle. Boris Said just up in front, and Simon Pagenaud driving in the Fujitsu car. This is this tricky first chicane. We opened that chicane up last year and basically made the 2 radiuses roughly 1 metre more flowing, so less tight. And when that was opened up, it's now 3rd gear. Well, then we inserted that hairpin that you just saw Simon approach, and up the inside, coming down into the fast chicane, which there was a little driver's policy on this yesterday. So at the driver's briefing, whoever was in the lead at the 100-metre marker before that chicane was going to be the guy who was given right of way.
So that's Christian Clean in the Botlow entry. He just pulled that move. He's the pro drive guy, drives in the Aston Martin program, and a lot of Formula One seat time for him, passing Simon Pagenaud, who's been through about 10 different racing car types so far in this 2011 season. It's been in everything from IndyCar all the way down to a midget on the dirt, and so now finds himself in a V8 supercar. He's a Frenchman, lives in Indianapolis, and it's a striking resemblance to Jean Girard.
Talladega Nights.
Yes, and apparently, and I haven't got him to do it yet because we ran out of time when we were down there before doing the car description, but he does a very good "I'm coming to get you" Ricky Bobby, so we're going to try and get him to do that before the weekend is done.
Yours isn't bad either.
Hey, Guy, I really want to try and catch up with you. If I look at the scoreboard there, I see Joey Hand there, car 18, position 4. Young James Moffat, I'm a fan, mate. Look, you're looking very relaxed. Going to get the car handed back, look, maybe in the top 4 or 5 cars.
Look, so far Joey's doing an awesome job. So, yeah, I couldn't be happier. car looks pretty strong. It looks like it's looking after its tyres, so all good so far.
James, you must be happy with both the car and the circuit, mate. Outstanding qualifying lap this morning, but you genuinely, you look relaxed. You're at one with the car. This is, to me, possibly your best event.
Yeah, look, Larko, it's a strange one because I haven't raced here. I didn't really know what to expect, but I like the street circuits and being up on the Gold Coast in this nice sunny weather, you know, can't get much better. So it's going well so far, but long way to go.
Great to see you up there, brother. Well done.
Looks a little bit nervous, doesn't he? Because he knows that he's in a good position here and quite possibly in a position to finish on the podium in this race. So Joey Hand's doing a terrific job for the Jim Beam entry car 18, but he's got a fellow American in Pat Long stalking, and Long has made a bit of a thing about that at this stage of this race. He continues to flash the lights. He's coming. Bourdais leads the race and leads it well.
Get off the corner really good, Bob. Use that car if you want. Back into those tires if you want. Got 10 laps to run here, bud, so yeah, use that thing up if you need to.
Okay, can you get it going, Dirk? Good one, well done. Just get back in the race, concentrate, you're doing a good job.
Rear damage, front there, coming in.
Gotcha.
Safety car window is open and you will stay in the car. Safety car window is open and you will stay in the car. Where you left? How many laps to go? 10 laps to run, mate. Careful on the exit with cold tyres. Careful on the exit. Lane is clear. Go in the car. Go. Start up. Hit the starter. Let's go. Hey buddy, just careful with cold tyres at the first corner.
Back on the Gold Coast, that's Simon Pagenaud, who has just gone through pit lane, stalled it on his way out, and coming into pit lane now is Dirk Muller. Car 17 of Stephen Johnson. Remember, this was completely rebuilt after that huge crash at Bathurst and damage to the front left. Hence the reason why it's such an awkward entry. This is why.
It's down at the Turn 1 chicane complex. And remember, this is the car that you saw Mark Larkham detail its massive rebuild after Bathurst. Turn 2, that's very heavy contact with the wall there. And they've just been through that process to really pushed it back into the path of the exiting Fujitsu car. And so that's going to be quite a bit of remedial work to get it back in shape. Here's the sister car, the at the moment, being driven by Joey Hand. James Moffat on standby. It's position 4 at the moment. Pat Long is again showing that he can be man of the match in these cars because he's climbing up through the field, applying the pressure, not making mistakes at the moment.
One if you need it, trim one if you need it.
So Bourdais' lead at the front is 4.7 seconds from Mika Salo. Ryan Briscoe on the HRT number 2 car is 3rd. And then we find Hand here, 4th. With Long behind him. So Patrick Long started from 11th position. Joey Hand started from 6th. The 2 Americans. And while we're in the ad break, we had been following the fortunes. There's our race leader, Sebastian Bourdais, by 4.5 seconds now over Mika Salo. The fortunes of Boris Said, who's always worth watching. And I heard Paul Morris say to him over the radio, let's start chewing into those tyres, coming towards the end of the minimum lap requirement for the co-drivers. 34 laps, and they can hand it over.
It's interesting watching Bourdais work the wheel here because he actually feeds the wheel. He doesn't leave his hands planted in the traditional sort of 3 o'clock, 9 o'clock position. Well, certainly that's how it was at the last corner. He may not do it down here into the turn 1 complex, but this guy's great pedigree in all forms of racing. Pretty much everything he's touched, he's been successful.
And he was also using the left foot brake. There's the wheel shuffling that Neil was talking about. That's very strange. When you do that like that, you just have to be very gentle on the throttle on the way out of the corner because you never know where the centre of the wheel is. So you can get away with that if you're being gentle. If you are really hustling the car and hustling the car hard, the exits are very hard to do when you use that technique.
Just in the last couple of laps, Bourdais opened that margin slightly again over Salo. Just probably 3 or 4 laps prior to that, Salo was actually closing a little bit, but Bourdais got a little kick along in the pace here, so he's just picked it up to about 5.5 seconds margin now. Bourdais, Salo, Briscoe. In fact, Bourdais, Salo, Briscoe and Long are all lapping at very, very similar lap speed. Gee, there's a lot of people having trouble with that final corner up there at the moment. When we were looking before at Joey Hand, it's Mark Dutton just reinforcing where they're at. Here's Gilles de Ferran. This guy has done it all. Drove the back part of his IndyCar career with Roger Penske. Twice a series champion, also an Indy 500 winner. Most recently was part of the sports car program over there, Acura, which is one of the Honda brands. Set out the sports car team with him, which they ran for a couple of years and then curtailed the program. We've got it all going on in 2nd gear off turn 11 there. And this guy is an absolute gentleman, an accomplished race driver. Started out in Formula 3 in Britain with Paul Stewart Racing. Progressed through Formula 3000, and at one stage we thought we may have ended up seeing him in Formula 1. He ended up with a very strong career in the US and highly regarded for his for his technical approach and his methodical ways in which he set up a car, worked with his engineers, and he was the sporting director for a couple of years with BAR Honda. And he nearly got an IndyCar team together for 2011, but in the end he decided he couldn't put the program together quite the way that he wanted to, so he backed away from it this year. So he and his wife Angela and the family are living down there in Florida and they're just waiting for the right moment to put back in again.
He won the 2001 kart championship here with the 4th place. Fond memories for Gilles de Ferran, and likewise for us, for him. Car 9, Manuele Pirro has Bergmeister behind him. Darren Turner, Ollie Gavin, Christian Klein. They're all lined up.
Another thing that's happening here, Matt, is that with the exception of Castro Neves and I think Magnussen, 1 or 2 others, most people are pretty much running their drivers down to the back end of this fuel load, and then they'll hoist the co-drivers, and the regulars are then going to double stint for the remainder of the race. There are a couple of people that have got alternate strategies going, so we must watch them late in the race, and car 47's one of them, and Elio's in the mix here. Here he is. And he's been much more comfortable in the cars here this weekend. I think I said earlier in the day, he's had 12 seasons now with Roger Penske, and he's had a fantastic IndyCar career with 3 victories in the 500. Here's Jamie Whincup now starting to suit up and get ready for his stint in the lead car. They've got 7.4 seconds up their sleeve at the moment, and this is going to swing that championship back towards him.
Welcome back live on the Gold Coast. We're getting to the stage of the race where these international drivers will hand over to our regular drivers, and then it's game on, championship style. Sebastian Bourdais leads the way by 10.5 seconds over Mika Salo. Ryan Briscoe is third. Patrick Long is fourth. Joey Hand for Jim Beam Racing is fifth. The fastest lap of the race belongs to Andy Priaulx. In fact, a race lap record around here, 1:13.11. But he's 18 laps behind after that first bit, and it's just been bettered by the other side of Team Vodafone, 1:12.97 from Sebastian Bourdais. You're riding with Boris Said. And boy, hasn't he seen some action, down to 13th now.
That lap time from Bourdais is very impressive at this stage of the race, where lap 34, but clearly they're getting lower in the fuel load. But by this point in time, we've used an awful lot of the tyre. So to do a 12.9 at this phase of the race is impressive. He's got the margin out over Mika Salo now, 11.5 seconds. And you made a point there about Alan Simonson on the move, passing Boris Said. Simonson in for what was to have been the seat held by Tony Kanaan this weekend.
Garth wasn't ready then.
No.
The car was in, and it wasn't ready, so Ryan's jumped out. He left they've been running the cool suit, because you can see the cool suit connections there from the driving suit.
He left the insert there as well. That's it. His little baby seat, if you like. And, you know, difference in sizes. That was the thing that they really didn't have to worry about at Bathurst. Nick Percat and Garth Tander similar. He just got it away, and only just. So Ryan Briscoe's...
We're going to put Ryan back in here. Came in 1 lap too early.
Oh,
that's what I thought.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Press on for now. Worked out later.
So 33 laps Ryan completed.
Yeah, I was wondering about that.
And it's meant to be 34.
And that's why Garth wasn't ready. Correct. And they've just said sorry over the radio. That is a very, very simple mistake.
And it's a monumental, because he's fourth in the championship. The Bathurst victory closed him up to within 481 points of the lead. That's a very, very big mistake. Mika Salo's now in Trading Post Racing. Here's Will Davison on standby. And
have a look how hectic this will be now, guys. From this lap onwards, you are allowed to stop, or the minimum driver requirement is 34 laps. So pit lane will be a very hectic place to be. Patrick Long in pit lane also. So Long, Salo, Joey Hand in.
Will Davison waits. Handed over the car from Mika Salo. Bundaberg Racing, Pat Long, terrific job. Gives it over to Fabian Coulthard. Bergmeister comes in.
Topping up the water tanks as well, because this is a place that makes a lot of brake temperature, and a little bit more tyre grip this year means that the brakes are working even harder. It's a 20-litre tank, so it's the water that you see going in as well. And they use about 450 mil per lap. It's quite a bit of it.
Have a look at this pit lane.
Yeah, it's just chaos down there now. This is the safest place in the joint.
Yeah. Look at it.
So Patrick Long heads out, and here comes Sebastian Bourdais. Lights flashing. Jamie Whincup waiting.
Yes, James Moffat's in now, so Joey Hand is left out of that car. He's the race leader.
An exceptional job from the Frenchman. Started from pole position, has done absolutely everything right.
13 with us in the car. Okay, Jade, I've got you there, mate. First year for me when you can. Pit lane looks okay at the moment, just waiting on fuel. Just got a car to garage away now.
That's water at the B pillar, fuel closest to us.
Keep that brake water on there, Bull.
And using a driver assistance, so Sebastian's gone straight back into the garage.
Pit lane is all clear, all yours.
Well
nice
done,
job.
good call.
Yeah, that was all very clean for them, and Sebastian delivered it with a very healthy margin.
Now the green light is still on for car 49. Oh, that could have been dangerous. Back to car 1. The green light means that the co-driver's in, but it's actually Steve Owen behind the wheel of car 49. So he just hasn't activated that yet. So James Courtney now takes over from Darren Turner.
Clear when it drops, mate. Clear when it drops.
So not a bad stint from Darren as well. He was a McLaren tester, got a lot of experience in motor racing simulators. A lot of work in the UK.
Look out, it's going to be easy traffic, I reckon. Just turn your yellow light on, so turn it to yellow, and fuel back 2, fuel 2.
So the green light means the co-driver's in the car, as Matt just said. The yellow or the orange, depending on how you view it, is for the soft tyre, which is, of course, on all weekend.
Mark Winterbottom.
And remember, car 6 and 9 had the extra 10 seconds applied to their stops. So that was from the full start scenario, so they've both now engaged that. There's a drama here on the right-hand front of Jason Bright's car. Can't get that wheel on. It's got a drama with the captive nut in the wheel.
So they haven't got another wheel there ready.
Got another wheel to come out, another set of tyres being used.
So this is just
valuable
disaster. It's
time.
going to put him at the back of the field. So Saracen out, Bright in.
Zero the fuel, turn off your green light.
It's Chris Clark, team manager. Zero the fuel so they can see what the fuel burn is in the car. And so slowly but surely now the co-driver's being lifted out of the car. They've met the minimum requirement, which is 1/3 of the race.
I think we're just going to verify this, but I think that may have put Jason Bright a lap down based on where he started and now the drama in the pit and the strength of the Board A performance, which doesn't help you on those days.
And that's the risk here, isn't it? So Morbidelli getting out. Oh, trouble down here at 1.
Holdsworth, car 33.
We're engaged first slot, spin it around. It's still
Pagenaud's
Pagenaud.
actually stood in the car.
Oh, don't leave it parked there. Yeah. So when you're not familiar with a car and get yourself organised to get back into first gear to be able to turn it around, you can see there it took Simon Pagenaud quite a long time to get himself organised. And as we said before, there's a lot of differences in the layout of the cars, and when you're not used to it, it's very difficult. So.
And we've just confirmed on the computer that Jason Bright is now a lap down. That's the risk on this now short track. Remember, this car's also got to serve the additional 10-second hole here at the end of the stop. So Willie Pirro out, and Shane Van Gisbergen in. Now here's what happened down here into 1. Oh, that was assisted. I didn't realise that he actually got some help. So Tagliani was the one that tagged him.
He's been doing a bit of that today, hasn't he, Tags?
Yes, he has, Matthew. That was a very good line of yours there.
Thank you, Mark.
It's very, very fortunate that he didn't end up launching back over into that wall that's on the right-hand side as we look at it. And here we go again from above. And I reckon that Tagliani's half a chance to get a whack from race control on that one.
Because there was more road on the right.
Yeah.
There was more road there, wasn't there?
Yep.
Yeah.
So won't be surprised to hear that there's a pit lane drive-through penalty levied there for Alex Tagliani in the Stratco Racing entry.
Started from 7th. Lee Holdsworth still with helmet on, waiting to get in.
And the new lap record there, Matt, a 1:12.75 for Andy Prio. So, I mean, I know it's no consolation, but you can take away from it that the car's in good nick and you've got another day to run tomorrow. It's a tragic day in their championship, but clearly their speed is very good.
Antonio Liuzzi, wow, what a first drive. How was the experience in V8 Supercars?
Yes, definitely. I really enjoyed. I had an amazing start. I passed 2-3 cars out of the grid. Then the first 7-8 laps were pretty good. We passed cars. It was a really good fight. Then after a while, they had a lot of understeer and lock in front. That's why I lost the pace, I lost the rhythm, and we lost your position. And then again, in the end of the stint, we got back our speed and we were able to catch and overtake the car. So it's been quite an intense first stint for me, but it's good preparation for the next time.
Like Formula One or different to Formula One?
Formula One is always Formula One, but this is a really competitive category. With the roof, it's completely different from Formula One, but I loved it. I really enjoyed it.
Glad you enjoyed it. Well done.
Thank you.
You go put his feet up right now, Tony Liuzzi. Check out some fashion. He's got a fashion label.
Has he?
Bonnie and Clyde. He might be able to suit you up.
His manager, his manager Enrico Zanarini's here as well, and Enrico's managed quite a few drivers over a period of time, including Giancarlo Fisichella, and he was also involved with Eddie Irvine. Many moons ago, he was public relations for Colin Bond and the Alfa Romeo touring car project, and that's a long time ago. So he's stepped back onto our shores, and he looks after Tonio. He's been very good with us in the last couple of weeks, just helping us with access to him. And it's good to have him out here. It's good to be able to talk about the category and take some of that information back overseas. He's done a bit of time in sedans, because remember when we first went over to the Middle East, we saw those speed cars, which was kind of a NASCAR derivative, and he spent a bit of time in those, so he's not totally unfamiliar with the notion of big, hot, heavy, sweaty racing cars.
Maybe we should send him down to Larko for a bit of fashion advice.
Probably not.
Probably not. So back behind the wheel we go.
Car 9's also a lap down now, guys, because of the stop and hold penalty, because of the creeping false start for Emanuele Pirro. So by the time you're a certain number of seconds behind the leader, then you take your stop and you take your penalty. Because the lap is short now, he's gone down a lap. So Bright and Van Gisbergen are down a lap. That's bad news for them.
Hey, I couldn't take any fashion advice from Luigi there. I couldn't understand a word he said. But what I am going to try and do is get in here a guy I'd like to talk to. Sebastian Bourdais. Firstly, mate, that was a great first stint. You must be really happy with that effort.
Yeah, it's a long way to go, so I'm not going to get too enthusiastic, but yeah, I'm pretty happy with my performance. And, the car is really awesome, so just keep it up.
Tell me about tyre degradation, because I thought it would be a lot more. We haven't seen the soft tyres on here yet, but it seemed to maintain pace. Your numbers you're punching out near the end there were pretty surprising.
Yeah, and I was blocked by the traffic, so yeah, there definitely was quite a bit more in the car, but I think I took really a lot of care on the tires at the very beginning, and they gave it back to me towards the end, so I wasn't challenged very much at the beginning, and I was very capable of saving my tires and managing the pace, so yeah, it was good.
Blocked by the tyres, mate. It's those international drivers, they drive on the wrong side of the road, huh?
Sebastian couldn't understand a word you said, Larker. Great job, though. That's why he was the first go-to guy for the international drivers. But the regular drivers, and Jamie Whincup leads the way.
In the right front, I'm not confident.
One goes, but you're racing the other two guys.
Still got 3 to use in the next 20 laps.
There are still more than 50 laps to go here in race 21 of the championship. The first part, if you like, of the Armour All Gold Coast 600. So the international drivers have mostly vacated the scene. There's still a handful left there after completing the minimum 34 laps. We're currently on lap 44. Jamie Whincup is the race leader by 18 seconds. The car 34, Augusto Farfus. Oh, Steve Owen close, and then Carl Reindler's entry takes out the... Sorry, that's Dean Fiore. Tony D'Alberto. I'll have 3 cracks at it. I was more worried about the health of that bollard. He's being decapitated.
Maybe Joey Hand got the Jim Beam car up to 4th. Joey, it looks like you enjoyed that experience.
Yeah, I did. You know, I mean, it's been a great experience since I got here. This whole team, DJR, Dick Johnson Racing, Steve Johnson had me over for a barbecue when I first got here. They've really welcomed me and Dirk and my wife, and you know, now to be on the streets of Surfers Paradise, it's been quite the experience, let me tell you that. These cars have been everything everybody said they'd be. It's they're tough to drive, but they're very cool to drive, and yeah, I'm just proud to be with this team, such a legendary team, and drive these cars with a lot of great race car drivers. Thankful also to have FXDD with us on the car. They followed me over here, and you know, hopefully we can do a good job for them the rest of the day.
Joey, tell us about this circuit. Is it like anything you've been on before?
Yeah. I mean, we race in the States in LMS. We race at Long Beach. I would say this is very much like Long Beach or Baltimore street circuit. You know, it's not many places you go to when you look one way and you see the waves crashing in from the ocean. I mean, it's very impressive. And just this whole thing, the way V8 Supercars just put this race on, it's impressive. I mean, I definitely opened my eyes, and I hope this is I really hope this is a tradition for me to come down here and enjoy this event.
Joey, we hope so too. Speaking of impressive performances, your teammate James Moffat did the right thing in qualifying.
Yeah, I mean, you know, we've really hit it off. Me and the Moff, as we call him, or as they call him. I'm just calling him that. It's he had a great performance. I think it really helps to have a good relationship. As soon as I got here, like I said, it's been a great relationship from the start. He's been really good on letting me do some setup in the car and let me say what I thought. And you know, it always, I think it never hurts to have another look at what you're doing. And he's a great teammate. He's done a great job today so far, and looks like he's still doing it. I think he's going to bring it home good for us.
Joey and the Moff, it's got a ring to it. Great team.
What's that?
Joey and the Moff, it's got a ring.
Joey and the Moff is. I was going to call it in qualifying. I thought, man, that's fantastic, but I'll call it Moff-tastic.
Well done, thanks, Joey.
Well, he looks strong out there at the moment. They're 6th at present, and Joey drives for BMW in the US. The program's managed by Bobby Rahal and Rahal, Letterman, Lanigan Racing. They're based in Columbus in Ohio. They run those cars, and he's had an amazing year. He got off to a great start with the win in the Rolex 24-hour race at Daytona. He was driving the Grand Am car with Scotty Pruitt, who was recently in Australia as well. Also had a win in Sebring. He stood on the podium in his category in the class at Le Mans. He's got a little karting company over there. Calvin Fish, who's also over here this weekend, actually manages him. So here's an important stop. These guys are 3 stopping at Fujitsu Racing. So that's Farfus out. Oh, that
right-hand rear tyre won't come on, does it? Battling for air pressure, that one, and we finally got it.
Pit lane's clear. When the car drops, you can go. Good job.
Okay, so in the end, it didn't cost them. The fuel was going in anyway. A new lap record set by Mark Winterbottom this time, 112.5. 112.516 from car number 5, 13th on the list. Our leader is Jamie Whincup by 22 seconds.
And it's a slightly false number, because remember that because of the little strategic goofball that happened for Toll HRT, they're going to have to put Ryan Briscoe back in because he's not met the minimum requirement. So at the moment it's a 22-second margin, and Tander's in the car at the moment, but they're going to have to play their cards differently, sit down and figure out how they do it at the back end of the race. It may work out okay for them, but they're certainly in a very strong position at Team Vodafone at the moment. So Will Davison, having taken over now from Mika Salo's in position 3, and after that great job done by Pat Long, Fabian Coulthard's in position 4.
This is further back. positions 20, 21 and 22 of Fiore, Jason Bright, Shane Van Gisbergen.
Hey, Matty, down here with Marino Franchetti. Bad luck, buddy. I said a little bit of contact with the wall there. Looks like it's busted an upright or the bottom pin. Tell us about your first experience, first race in V8 Supercars.
Love driving the V8 Supercars. Everything I dreamed it would be. Huge amount of fun out there. Loving being at the Gold Coast. Unfortunately, Gianni Morbidelli stuck me in the fence at the hairpin. You know, I'd given him the inside and he just drove me in the wall on the exit. Broke the steering. I don't know, he's a little guy, maybe he couldn't see over the wheel, but yeah, unfortunate for the Gulf Western Oil guys, but we'll be back out tomorrow and hopefully I can get the car to the stop and give Luffy a run.
And aside from that, though, you're enjoying it, though? I mean, it's got to be a good gig.
It's amazing. I think what you're seeing with us internationals out there is we don't know where the limits are, how far we can push it under braking, where we can make moves, and you're seeing a lot of errors and contact, and hopefully we've got it worked out for tomorrow.
Don't feel a lone ranger there, mate. My mate Neil Crompton made a career out of not knowing where the brake markers were. All right, mate. Well done.
He fits in well, Marino Franchitti, in the sledging side of things. He's got straight into Gianni Morbidelli. Now, we have a safety car. Yellow flags around the circuit. As we zero in on Garth Tander, we'll have to find out what the problem is. Tander is second to Jamie Whincup. So yellow flags.
Just confirming car 88 safety car. It should be about, you would need to wave about 4 cars through and will be the next car.
So they're picking up the leader. So there's the Peters safety car at the moment. They're looking for car number 88, the race leader, and that's a 22-second margin that they enjoy. It's just going to evaporate to nothing. And here's the reason why. One of our new bollards has broken. There's been a lot of very solid contact. I sort of have to make the point, there's been a lot of chat about them this weekend as they bring Tander back in once again, and they're actually slipping Ryan back in the car in order to meet this requirement. That compared to years gone by where I think everybody universally, not only here in the paddock and in the cars, but probably at home as well, is a bit unimpressed by the notion of rotten old tyres delineating the middle of a corner. This is early days, but the right step towards trying to fix the problem. This is a Mark 1 version at the moment. A lot of time and effort's been spent trying to get these right. And the electronic marking in the road, the loop in the road, together with the bollard, that'll evolve into being the right thing in time for sure.
Well, it's got to the stage now where that bollard's been chopped down enough to cause a problem, and quite possibly a puncture.
Well, what it'll do is, with it only at that dimension, the cars will jump right across it. So the reality of that damage means that you can use the curb too hard.
And the other reality is that Jamie Whincup's massive lead has now whittled away under the safety car.
Lane's clear. When the car drops, you're right to go. Pit lane's still clear.
And bring that rear bar
You're
up.
all good, mate. First gear.
And,
Waiting on fuel.
Maybe try that front bar at 5.
Go! Go! Wrong with the lights, I think.
Quick. Got to be quick here, mate. Get out in front of the car. Hustle it around, mate. Hustle it around.
Seconds. Rear wheels are done. First gear when ready. And they're waiting on fuel.
Mate, you got a radio, you're good to go, All clear in the lane, Right, mate, it's obviously going to cost us a few positions. That's my fault, I'll take that. We will be at the back of the queue, we'll be in about 12 or 13, but we've got a big fuel advantage on a lot of guys. So all is not lost.
All clear here, all clear.
Okay, mate, we're actually in position 11 at the moment, so We have probably a 10-second fuel save. I'll confirm that on you. So we're in a race with Bargs in front of us, and Moffat. There's probably a bit of lap traffic in between, but yeah. So Moffat, Bargwanna, the 2 cars in front. Slade and Holdsworth, the 2 cars behind. There's only 14 cars on the lead lap. Safety car is increasing speed now, increasing speed. So, yeah, P11 on the track. I'll just have a bit of a look and see what we've got for traffic-wise here.
It's a spectacular Surfers Paradise day, and as the safety car continues to control the field, let's run you through the order here at the halfway mark now of the 21st race of 2011 Jamie Whincup. The leader over Will Davison, James Courtney third,
Davison and
Kelly is fourth.
Everyone's got their
Greg
main
Murphy,
driver
Todd Kelly, Mark Winterbottom, Fabian Coulthard, James Moffat ninth, and Jason Bargwanna in 10th. Now Garth Tander in car 2. While we were making some money in the break, this is what's happened here. So Ryan Briscoe is sent out and still on the way in. Had to have a whole heap of hands waving at him to come in. So remember that Ryan Briscoe was 1 lap short of completing
we have
the minimum
a 9 or 10
requirement.
second fuel save. Safety cars at 80k.
Bollard.
We'll replace this Bollard.
As it's being replaced.
Light turn on the safety car, mate.
Supercar coming at you while you're doing some work in the middle of the track.
We'll be on
So,
green tyres.
net result, Ryan Briscoe has completed that lap that he needed to do to get the minimum requirement out of the way. Garth Tander has jumped back in. More fuel on board, and they're in 11th spot after starting from 2nd.
And restart now. So Whincup, Davison, Courtney, Kelly, Murphy. That's Rick Kelly in 4th. Todd Kelly in 6th. Great performance there from Kelly, Murphy and Todd Kelly in the Kelly Racing Garage. 3 of them there in the top 6. Winterbottom, Coulthard, Moffat, Bargwanna and Tander down in 11th. So, game on now. Sprint to another fuel stop.
Green.
He's holding him, holding him, holding him. Now Jamie Whincup releases. The quickest car all day. Sebastian Bourdais did a brilliant job from the start. Whincup had got the lead up to over 20 seconds. They roar down the main straight, down to turn 1. That's where the Bollard has been replaced. By the looks of it, it won't last long.
Well, it certainly won't.
Remember that safety cars often breed safety cars. Look at this.
Will
This
burn
is
now.
so close there. That's Courtney trying to sneak up the inside of Jason Bright.
Quite a few cars back.
And he did get up the inside of Rick Kelly. Rick Kelly and Greg Murphy alongside each other in the run to the fast chicane. That's a great shot through there, isn't it? About 150 kilometres an hour through that complex of third gear corners. And down the inside goes Bright on Ingle.
It's not often you see them go
And
3 wide into
Courtney
that turn.
down the inside.
Come out unscathed. So Courtney sneaks on through. Rick Kelly, Greg Murphy, Jason Bright goes on the inside of Todd Kelly. Mark Winterbottom's all tied up in it as well.
Bright's a lap down. That's why he's got to let these guys go.
Yep. A lot of these cars out of sequence onto the main straight. Watch this.
One of the interesting things, guys, and I'll just flag this really early because I think it'll be a talking point a little later, is that where that safety car fell, depending on your consumption and all the usual things, how hard you're running and whether we get more track trauma and any more safety car interventions. But they may, and it's a big question mark, and how lean you run is a question, but they may be able to get through to the end now without refueling. So some people will definitely start to weigh that up as a factor, and that could actually play into the hands of Garth Tander here because of the whole in-out process with Ryan Briscoe. They've had the opportunity to squirt a little bit more fuel back into that Toll HRT car, and if we find that people don't want to take the punt, there's one of the bollards that's been broken off off to the side of the road. If they, and that's the one that's come back out again at the Turn 1 complex.
Lasted a lap.
Well, you saw how hard it got hit. Remember, you saw the two cars going in there, and one of the HRT cars just drove straight over it. So bulldozed it straight out. There's Garth Tander firing in to the back of the Yana Living Commodore.
So Croppo's point's right. Like we said, Garth Tander, by way of having to get Ryan Briscoe in the car for another lap under safety car, took the opportunity to get more fuel. They said that to him on the way out. We'll have a fuel advantage at the end of this race. So it's not all bad news, Garth. Keep going for it. Jason Bright, a lap down, still stepping out of the way for traffic. That's where the bollard was replaced, and now it's gone again. Down to turn 4.
Safety car again, I think, because of that bollard on the side of the road, half a chance to trigger the safety car, and it has. Now, this further plays to what I said a moment ago. If we keep saving fuel...
Safety car, mate, safety car. So, yep, to replace another bollard at turn 2.
I would say they come in. I mean, pretty much everybody now will be able to make it. Certainly the top guys, you take the punt. I'd be in the pit here to fire fuel at it.
On averages, we say that it's about 46 laps for a load of fuel. There's certainly people in the lane laying up at the moment preparing for that task, and that'll take the question mark away so that they race clean to the end. But will Tander come in?
So, Whincup is in the lane. Will Davison follows him. Courtney does as well. Rick Kelly, Greg Murphy. They're all going to arrive very soon. Todd Kelly's come in. We'll see if Garth Tander does. Jason Barguana has a Tander will.
But remember, 88's got a longer stop. He will be parked for longer to fill this car. So this may hurt him in terms of him coming back with track position. So just watch for this exit. Go. Should be right, he's saying. There's Tander going back out.
Tell you what,
yeah,
Will Davison's going to arrive.
Yeah, that's right. So he's gained, if it was green, he's gained track position. But because it's safety car, you're right behind.
So on, from this point on, fill up, use the averages. That'll get you to lap 101. It's a 102-lap race. So this is going to be, there's going to be a lot of chat about leaning the fuel off, because who knows, we may get another safety car before we get to the end of this thing.
And also, how many laps will we be under safety car right here?
Which will be a very big talking point. So at the moment, you'd be running them on the smell while you can. In this phase, with the safety cars out, it'd be 90% air for me and 10% fuel. It'd be the worst setting you can put on pit into the thing.
Oh, so this is clumsy. The drama there is it was queued. The front car couldn't get out. That was Courtney. Tander ended up parking back. They've serviced the car half a bay backwards, and they can't reach with the air hose for the tyres on the rear. Look at this, and now, this is the issue. That's what started it.
So Courtney was stuck, and then Murph goes to go out and collects one of the tyres from Jack Daniels, on the other side of Kelly Racing. Was it last year we had that with the Fujitsu guys?
Yep.
It's dangerous. I mean, it's always a bit of a dogfight down there, but when you've got to queue them as well, it's even worse. So, the bollards go back in.
Got the train. This is inside the fuel window. It's okay.
So everyone's saying we're in our fuel window to get home, so all the drivers are being advised now to look after the fuel under the safety car period. This is turn 2, where we saw one of the HRT cars just knock the bollard straight over.
So we'll take a break. The Petters safety car setting the stage for a thrilling finale.
Yeah, okay, mate. It's so hard to pass.
I was just joking, we're not going to a break. We're going to go up to the Coates Hire chopper and check out the scene from high above. Interesting too that the weather has completely gone away from us after that qualifying session. Mixed up qualifying, but it stayed well and truly away for this race. Now history tells us at the Gold Coast, no matter what category we've been driving here, that towards the end of the race is when the storms arrive. I mean, it's typical surface paradise weather.
The other thing, Matt, is why we were saying about the long stop for Whincup and what was going to happen on the exit. Courtney was the guy that was going to be that car.
Yep.
Until he was balked in pit lane. So that really has smashed James Courtney. He would have been at least second, maybe first. and he's down now in 8th position. So that was a very, very costly pit lane, not mistake, because he just simply couldn't get out because the cars were queuing.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So James Moffat finds himself leading the race.
Fabian Coulthard second and Tim Slade third.
18 to maintain speed, 18 to maintain speed. And then the next car in front of that is Holdsworth.
So some guys, importantly, got their lap back who were previously in the day. So Shane Van Gisbergen, for instance, is the last of those guys. He's 19th, but he is back on the lead lap now. Very important at this phase of the race. Garth Tander, in all of that, was down at 13th. James Courtney down to 8th. Whincup in 5th. So this is really a very mixed up leaderboard with Moffat from Coulthard, Slade, Holdsworth, Whincup, Will Davison, Rick Kelly, James Courtney, Paul Dumbrell and Jason Bargwanna. Closely followed for this restart with Greg Murphy, Mark Winterbottom, Garth Tander, Todd Kelly and Michael Caruso. That's your top 15 cars.
James Moffat has his hands full, leads this V8 supercar race.
So a lot of gambling here going on at Jim Beam Racing, because, you know, we saw some of the key runners come in and grab their fuel to try and get fuel certainty to the end of the race. That's not the case for James Moffat leading the race, so he's going to have to bank on there being another safety car intervention, otherwise he's going to have to come in and squirt fuel in to get home.
Did you see how close Greg Murphy got to that wall?
Yeah.
He went in wide, and now Russell Ingall will be loaded into the super cheap auto car.
Now, I don't understand that at all, because Magnussen has done the laps, and I don't understand why they wouldn't have done that under safety car, because they're doing it under green. Just park him at the back.
We could end up going a lap down pretty easily.
Well, yeah.
So Moffat under maximum attack now from Fabian Coulthard. Watch the bollards. And is Steve Owen going to go wide? Well, he's collected it too.
Well, that's the end.
There's not much point putting it back in. Moffat comes around. Does a 113.4. Fabian Coulthard behind him, a 113.7. Slade is third. Holdsworth is fourth. And then Jamie Whincup fifth. This is a really interesting stage of this race.
So on a full load of fuel, we had some safety car intervention, so these numbers won't be quite right, but James last stopped on lap 49. Under normal running, green running, that would get him out to lap 95. Clearly the safety car's been in the mix there, so you can add a couple of laps to that, but 95, even be generous, say 97, still not 102.
Yeah. No, so not going to get in there.
You know, I'm trying to tie two bits of string that don't quite join here.
And same for, is it the same for Fabian?
Yes, it is. In fact, they're tied together strategically.
And it's one of those races, isn't it, where these guys, when the two Americans were in the car, Joey Hand in car 18 and Pat Long in car 61, found themselves together, battling and dicing. Now the two regular drivers, some 20-odd laps later, find themselves 1 and 2.
It's a very important moment, though, for James Moffat. You know, regardless of just what all the strategy questions may or may not be, this is a young guy who's been clawing his way to the top of the sport. In some instances, clearly, it's nice to have your dad's name. That can help, but sometimes it can hinder as well. Sometimes people may not necessarily regard you as being the business, but this clearly shows that that's not the case, that James is worthy. He's fought his way into the main game. He did a great job on the way up through a variety of different categories, and now he finds himself at the helm in one of our bigger events with a big team, and that's very, very good for him. He's put some strong performances in so far this year. Queensland Raceway was a ripper drive.
9th and 4th, he ended up the races that we had up there, and I reckon that was really the turning point there, because they weren't easy 9ths and 4ths, so you had to fight for them. It was a weekend that Craig Williams did a clean sweep. Boy,
big dive there, Van Gisbergen. Big dive.
He's now moved up a spot to 16th. The important message there that you just conveyed a couple of laps back was that Shane's got his lap back. He went a lap down in that process from when they changed over from Pirro They had the penalty from the jump start, the false start.
Right is a lap down.
He's on
Right
the climb
is a
back
lap
through. So he
down.
looks like he's got
Owen
speed.
is next.
The problem for Shane is that in doing this, you use a lot of brake,
42
use a
laps
lot of
to
tyre,
go.
typically use a lot of fuel when you have to deal with this amount of traffic.
So just to get a little rundown on where the field actually is, because Whincup is in 5th position, but he's the only one from 5th down who will absolutely make it home. So Moffat, Coulthard, Slade and Holdsworth are all in fuel strife.
It's all about the gas here at the Gold Coast 600.
Good work, mate. Good work. We've got 41 laps to go. 41 to go.
So, it's a bit early for a countdown.
Oh, negative. No chicane. Okay, mate, we are P16. P16, Owen is next for position. Just look after those tyres.
You think this pace is too fast?
Lap was good on fuel. That lap was good on fuel. More like that, please.
Am I going too fast?
Yeah, a little bit too fast, mate. Just back it off a tenth or two, please.
No problem.
Saturday Supercars from Surfers Paradise here on 7. You're riding with Jamie Whincup. And good time too, because he just gets past Tim Slade. Will Davison tried to go with him and ended up having contact between cars 6 and 47. So Whincup moves up to 4th and Davison goes up a slot and does get around Tim Slade. James Moffat is our race leader. Fabian Coulthard is 2nd and Lee Holdsworth 3rd. But those top 3 guys will have to stop in between now and the end of the race for fuel. The numbers fall all right. Whincup and co behind them can go all the way. So effectively, you'd have to say that right now, Jamie Whincup is the effective race leader, but he's got an almighty fight in his hands from Will Davison.
Well, he's absolutely in the picture here, and he's on the same strategy as Jamie Whincup. So that little margin, that gap that you can see there is real. That's what it's all about. This is the corrected first and second at the moment. But even those guys are going to have to still manage their fuel slightly. because they're right on the very edge. What those in front, the first three, are banking on at the moment is that there'll be some more safety car intervention.
So what have we got now? 19 cars on the lead lap.
Hey boys, I'm just going to try and grab a word in here with Malcolm Swetnam.
He got no warning.
What we want to try and find out, Greg, you might be able to help us, Greg Wheeler. James Moffat out there, very close on fuel. Do you think you'll make it home if you get another couple of safety cars?
No, I think we're almost up for another pit stop for sure. It's going to be close though.
Yeah, well, I can see you chewing your fingernails, mate. What I want to do is show you, actually, Dave, come around here. What a lot of these guys are doing to manage fuel is they've got a knob on the steering wheel or sometimes on the dashboard. In the case of a Dick Johnson car, oh, well, there you go. I can't even open that door, sorry, but in there on the dashboard, I got caught out there, haven't I? What do I do?
There's four of them, Larko. There's four of them.
Go to the other side, Larko.
There's a knob in there, which is 1 to 4, right? On 4, the car runs really lean. Okay, I'm going to give this a go. I'll just
go to the other side.
I can tuck in here, Dave. You stick a camera in there.
That's it.
And see if down on the dash there, you can see a knob down there, a silver knob. Now, what they'll do, a lot of the guys have that on the steering wheel. These guys have it on the down there on the dashboard, on the switchboard. 4 is super lean, so they'll use that in the safety car period. It really leans the engine out. During the race, they'll use it on 2 or 3. I've just been told James Moffat's actually got his on 1 because they really don't think they're going to make it on fuel, so they're going to go for full power.
Larko, they're right-hand drive, those cars, so if you want to go and refer to the steering wheel, you actually have to go to that side. I know we've got international drivers, I just didn't want to confuse you, that's all.
I think he's speechless.
So Tim Slade here with Rick Kelly behind him and James Courtney. One further back. Good job by Darren Turney, you'd have to say. Did a really good first stint. Now, Andy Prio has been in the car since the get-go and had a real handful. Stop, start in the garage. Sat around for a while. Now he can finally hand it over to Craig Lowndes. They're 18 laps adrift.
Very good drive. Fastest lap of the race, and a 12.6 was a very, very good effort from Andy and showed that if they started, they would have been really in contention today. So would have been a very good hit out. Certainly something good for him for tomorrow in terms of getting a feel for what the car's like, what the tyres degrade like. And now Craig Lowndes will go and do...
I don't think they'll be classified on that basis, though, so there won't be any points in it, so they're too far back. But at least it's valuable mileage. 90% for an endurance race.
As we look down on Slade versus Kelly, in front of them is some lap traffic. Dean Fiore was a lap down. That's a white car that you can see just in front, and Tim Slade, I reckon, was just getting a little bit frustrated around some of the slower turns down at turn 4. So we wait and we watch and we see what will unfold with more than 30 laps to go here on the Gold Coast.
Good job, mate. Good job. I can see you got better traction out of all the corners than all the guys behind. Good job. Nice work, mate.
P14, P14. Todd Kelly is a little quicker than us, and if you wanted to let him go, I'm sure it would be fine because they're harder on their tyres than us. Okay. I can't Todd Kelly. Yeah, okay, sorry mate.
Welcome back. Jamie Whincup has just done the fastest lap of this race, 1:12.496. Therefore, a new lap record around here. Tim Slade is showing an enormous amount of pace, but he will not be fueled until the end. James Moffat is our race leader from Fabian Coulthard and Lee Holdsworth, but they'll have to stop. Then Whincup can go to the end. Will Davison, same. Slade's behind them, Rick Kelly, Greg Murphy, James Courtney, who you're riding with, and Paul Dumbrell round out our top 10.
Yeah, Tim Slade is one lap better off than James Moffat and Fabian Coulthard, but it's still not going to be near enough. So they bring the Team Vodafone car 888 back into the garage again.
Gee, this will be a big swing at the end of the day as Craig Lowndes will watch his championship lead go. If Whincup wins the race, it'll be a 50-point advantage for Jamie after Craig took a 100-point advantage over his teammate here. This ride with James Courtney on the front straight here, up towards 260 kilometres an hour. That's where the bollard was. It's been sliced and removed twice, so it's gone for the rest of the day. Down to 56 k's an hour around turn 4.
It's a great shot, isn't it?
Through the back chicane. So approaching the left-hander of turn 11. Wave goodbye to the beach on your right-hand side and start weaving your way through this very difficult part of the track. A lot of undulation in the road. Cars are unsettled. At the end of the day, the sun will be right in their eyes here. Around turn 14. And then finally 15 to unleash it back on the main straightaway. Things happen so quickly around this circuit.
I would say the guys are doing a little test session here with this car for tomorrow, making some changes. They're working at the moment on the front ducting and how much blanking you have, meaning how much of the ducts are covered up. Around here, because it's quite hot and reasonably hard on brakes, you have to run pretty much the air ducts for the braking uncovered, and then you can run as much blanking over the radiator as you can get away with. But in the race, when you're with other cars, then the engine temperature comes up. So you've always got to balance that for the conditions.
James at the moment is running a pretty good pace out there. Last time through, of the top 10 cars, he was the fastest man out there. You heard Mark Larkham earlier talking about the fact that they're just running the car full rich at the moment. It is with the maximum power setting on the mixture control. Remember, if you're out and about, Big Pond Sport, you can catch Sevens coverage on your mobile. Keep up with all the V8 supercar action. We're riding with James Moffat into the first complex. They're using a lot more of the curbing down there now because they can.
And he's got a big gap from Fabian Coulthard because that was really close. Coulthard was right behind him, and it's now 3.5 second gap that James Moffat has worked very hard on. So here are the highlights.
From the start of this race, Sebastian Bourdais started on pole position, got a great start. Mika Salo behind him would end up getting penalised for just rolling at that start, and Ryan Briscoe got a bit swamped. But poor old Mark Lieb in car 4 with the Irwin Tools entry started in 5th spot and would finish the first lap in 10th position. How's car 9? Manuele Pirro getting it loose on the way through. This was the big drama, though. And it has continued to be the big drama for car 888 with Andy Prio behind the wheel. There's Mark Lieb, just another punch. 16 and 34 coming together. Tagliani was really in the wars. And then Lieb again will feature in this highlight reel for all the wrong reasons. Marino Franchitti pushed into the wall at the exit of turn 4. And watch this. Richard Lyons. Poor old Mark must be wondering why on earth he came to drive in the V8 supercars. Big, big contact for car 17. Dirk Muller behind the wheel. And then Simon Pagenaud was doing a pretty good job for Fujitsu Racing with his partner Lee Holdsworth. The bollard started to cause problems and forced a safety car and problems in pit lane, as you'd expect, but Kelly Racing really made a mess of it because of queuing, and the Pepsi Max crew collected a tyre on the way through. Look what's above us. Pretty much right on cue. 75 laps into 102. A new race lap record done by James Moffat this time, a 112.36. But those clouds look ominous.
Oh, Matty, Craig Lowndes will be looking forward to jumping in the car and driving away from the circuit tonight. How's his day? Electrical problems early on. They have now hit something on the track that's gone up, punctured the radiator, and that's his problem, got him back in the garage again.
Oh, dear. It's just bizarre, isn't it? 12 months ago, we were discussing the championship-changing moment that happened to, or moments that happened to Jamie Whincup. He couldn't take a trick here last year. And now it's the other side of the fence for Team Vodafone.
And there's a power steering problem here with the Tony D'Alberto Wilson security car. It's got it's only steering effectively in one direction.
This is game on here. Look at this.
This is for the lead, for the effective lead of the car race, and Will Davison all over the back of Jamie Whincup at the moment. These guys on the computer showing 5th and 6th, but remember the question mark over Moffat, Coulthard and Holdsworth, 1, 2 and 3. We don't think they've got sufficient fuel to get to the end. On the subject of James Moffat, I've just been smoking the calculator here. He last stopped on lap 49. If you use averages and say that a full load is going to give you 46 laps, it takes you to lap 95. That's 7 laps short of the 102 laps you require to finish this motor race. They're burning on average 2.2 litres of sucrogen ethanol every lap. So that means that basically you've got to take on about 5 odd seconds of fuel. And when you add the transit time of getting in and out of the pit lane plus the fuel, it's about 40 odd seconds. So then you go back to work on the computer and you see what happens when you add 41 seconds. Look at this down the inside. And a move. Done. Only barely crisscrossed though, and out the other side. So
No worries.
Very interesting situation for James Moffat. They just desperately need something in this race to get them out of jail. Look at the amount of fluid coming out from beneath that car. So massive amount of water there just dripping out on that other shot that we had of car AAA. And look, still heaving water. It's actually going all over the back tyres at the moment. That's dangerous. It's not going to go down well with some of the competitors. So that's what's upsetting the rear of that car. So the bottom line is that the James Moffat story, unless something else happens to help their fortunes with a safety car, if you look at the gap at the moment, the last guy on the lead lap at the moment is Todd Kelly in 18th, and he's 28 seconds off the lead. So that will put James Moffat potentially at the back of that queue, so 19th position. Everybody else is some laps down. So he needs some sort of safety car miracle to get him in the game at the moment.
This is coughing and spluttering its way around. The water was in the front splitter. Jeremy Moore just telling Craig that it would dry out, which it has. There's nothing now spurting out of the cover. Look at the blue smoke.
It's murdered itself. It's cooked itself. That would have happened in the previous stint when we saw JJ come down to the door and say, is it losing power in a straight line? So it's got very hot in that previous sequence.
Fabian Coulthard holding off Lee Holdsworth. So James Moffat is 6 seconds further up the road. He leads this race. Coulthard and Long, Holdsworth and Pagenaud currently in third. But those three guys will more than likely have to stop, pending another safety car. 25 laps to go in this race.
Okay, mate, they're good. You're good to go. So you're going to pull just into the garage. Just switch her off as soon as you can, please, mate. Nice and steady on the floor, thanks. Tybo, can you get on that cool suit for me straight away, please? Cool suit straight away. Fuel that lap, excellent fuel that lap. Gap to wheel 3.2. Triggered the back chicane, then you triggered the back chicane. That is your first strike. We have 22 laps remaining.
Back here on board with car 55, Paul Dumbrell. That's Garth Tander up ahead of him on lap 81. So we're watching the skies, because there are some clouds around. We're watching the fuel gauges. 81 of 102. Rick Kelly, Greg Murphy out of Kelly Racing. Behind them is James Courtney. So they're positioned 6, 7 and 8. Mark Winterbottom, in the course of the last couple of laps, has got around Tim Slade. So Winterbottom up to 9th. James Moffat continues to lead this race.
And Barry Ryan,
Mate, that's good. Your
who's on the radio to Rick Murphy, they're blowing at the moment because Rick won't move over them. So that'll be a nice little team debrief after. It's Craig Lowndes all parked up with the 888.
Andy Priaulx. And there's really nothing they could have done today, but...
I didn't get one of those cuddles and we even went around.
Here we go. Look at this, Murphy. He's got him finally. So he had to work it, but he got it done eventually down at turn 4. And so that's resolved the problem. No radio required. Just slide the car up the inside, and Greg's away now. So he's gone up to position 6 as a result of that in the Pepsi Max crew car.
It's a tough game, Craig Lowndes. Isn't it? Electrical problems first, then the radiator. We normally try and talk on the podium, but not today. It's going to be in the garage.
No, Brett, I suppose that's motor racing. Look, they take the highs and lows. We were talking about Bathurst a couple of weeks ago. I'm thinking back on that now. Great high, but of course you come here, you put your best foot forward, and we've been sort of chasing a electrical gremlin, I suppose you could call it, throughout qualifying, and then of course it's now started in the race with Andy. Somewhere along the line, I think one of those bollards that got dislodged has gone up the front and put a crack in the radiator. But look, that's one of those days, you know, we got a heap of tyres for tomorrow. We've got good fuel consumption, and Andy likes the car, which is a really good thing.
Andy Priaulx's been an impressive teammate.
Well, look, he has been. Last year, he was voted the international driver of obviously the internationals. This year, between Sebastian and Andy, I think have been very top notch, and I think that you know, Andy did a fantastic job. I put him in a bad situation, then now unfortunately put him in a worse situation by getting him to start out a pit exit. But look, no, that's motor racing. He understands that. But as I said, he likes the car. He did a 12.5 when he did his stint, and I think the lap record at the moment is a 12.2. So he's very comfortable in the car. So we're both looking forward now tomorrow.
Big crack at it tomorrow?
Oh, definitely. Otherwise, I'm going to take Scapey's job.
Good luck tomorrow.
Yeah. Got to drag him out of the box first. It's got very comfy up here, the commissioner.
Thank you.
So 7 more races to go in the 2011 season, and that's what Craig Lowndes will be focusing on, because he leaves here today without his championship lead.
Jonathan Webb's just set a new lap record while we're having a chat to Craig. It's now been reduced to 1 minute 12 even in the Mother Energy Ford. He's in position 17 at the moment. He's sharing with Jules de Ferran.
Fabian Coulthard has come into pit lane. First of the leading group to come straight into pit lane with 19 laps remaining. So Lee Holdsworth goes to second. James Moffat continues to lead by 8.4 seconds, 8.9 seconds now.
For a little longer in the quest for a safety car there. I know it's the first one to blink, but under that scenario, when you do it under green,
cars that you might come out with will be lap downs anyway.
Firing back towards Todd Kelly down there somewhere.
He'll be at the back end of those on the lead lap, and that's all the way down to 17th position, thereabouts 18th position, something like that. So he's going to hurt, and they'll just be hoping for cars 18 and 19, James Moffat and Lee Holdsworth, that they get a break here that will just prove their strategy right. Otherwise, they're going to suffer the same fate.
Yeah, Fabian's popped back out in 16th spot behind Todd Kelly, in front of Jonathan Webb. So they decided to go early at Bundaberg Racing. After not putting a foot wrong, you got to say, all day. Patrick Long did a brilliant job in his first stint. They started from 11th position, got it all the way up. No dramas. Fabian was doing good lap times. He was starting to drift away just a little bit from James Moffat, and maybe that was the deciding factor. Now Tim Slade comes in.
He stopped last on lap 40, lap 50.
There we go, Castro Neves partnering Tim this weekend. 3-time Indy 500 champion.
Well, it's only going to be 5 seconds of fuel to dribble in here. Yeah, probably take longer to rattle the wheels on and off. Probably could have got through to the end on those tyres.
So it's a about a 41-second transition time, depending on how much fuel you put in, isn't it? And then you just listen and watch the cars go past as you're waiting to get out of pit lane.
This is for position. This is Winterbottom attacking Courtney at the moment. And this little bunch here is starting to show all the signals of full-blown warfare, because it's very, very tight between Murphy, Kelly, Courtney and Winterbottom. Murphy skipped away a little bit from this group now, but certainly Kelly, Courtney, Winterbottom, they're all latched together.
Lee Holdsworth has pulled the trigger. He's come in. So James Moffat is the last man standing out the front. Holdsworth in pit lane. Fuel running out. Strategies come to the end. No option and no sign yet of a safety car.
So if Whincup goes to the top as we expect him and he holds that position, has he got up the inside here? Yes, he has, Winterbottom. So it's a nice manoeuvre down the inside of James Courtney for position. So if Whincup does this and ends up winning, oh, that was a bit late to pull the tear off, but he got it. He grabs 150 points for his trouble. He came in 100 down on Craig, so he'll be 50 up at the end of it. The snakes and ladders of the business.
Courtney's trying to latch back onto the rear here of Mark Winterbottom, who at this stage of the race is showing really good pace. He's rounded up quite a few in the last 10 laps or so. He's now up into 6th spot. The order is Moffat, Whincup, Davison, Murphy, Rick Kelly. They've had their battles, the teammates, and then Winterbottom, Courtney. A little bit further back is Courtney's teammate, Garth Tander, on a day that could have been much better, but for a blunder in strategy.
Okay, mate, doing a good job.
If we expect to see James Moffat in soon, Whincup will take control of the race and will have a bit of a fight on his hands from Will Davison, he hasn't drifted away far enough yet.
They are asking him to conserve fuel at the moment, Will Davison, so that's one of the problems that he faces. He's not going to be able to be full rich to the end. Because remember when we did the calcs a little while ago, basically they were kind of a lap away from where you'd need to be to say, yes, everything's good.
What this has done also has answered a very significant question for Ford Performance Racing. So many question marks over FPR and the soft compound tyre before the endurance season started. Now as the enduro season comes to an end, yes, they've got on top of it, both inside the top 10.
Away you go.
Back live on the Gold Coast, some debris there on the track our cameraman has found. And you just wonder if that's enough to trigger a safety car. If it is, it's going to be a hard luck story for James Moffat. In the break, couldn't go any further on the strategy that they were playing.
Here we go.
And James Moffat is only a lap short of playing the right card. So, oh my goodness.
Yeah,
so he had to come in and fuel up. He just couldn't go any further. They'd rolled the dice as much as they could. He had an 8-second lead at that stage. By the time he was processed, comes back out in 13th position. Another lap, had they done another lap, you never know, of course, but they would have found that, and they would have still been at the front of this race.
The slightly cruel thing is that he might have been able to go on a little longer. I reckon they actually just came in. Yeah. Could have actually run a bit longer.
Wow. Just one more lap would have done it. Jamie Whincup has the lead of the race from Will Davison, who is in a bit of conservation mode with his fuel. Greg Murphy is third, and Mark Winterbottom has been the man to watch over the last 10 laps. He's now up to fourth, got a lot of pace in car 5.
Now remember, though, that one of the great advantages for James after everybody regroups and is tied together at the restart, he's going to be the first in the queue with brand new tyres, and that'll be worth something at this point in the day. But he's got to climb over a lot of metal to be able to make it effective.
The other aspect is that we saw Winterbottom making ground on Murphy just before the safety car intervention. This will be now a 12-lap sprint, basically on lap 90 now. A very short sprint to the end, with Murphy as the bottom step of the podium at the moment. So that'll be a real red-hot battle between Winterbottom and Murphy. What may have also done is given Murphy's tyres a little breath, because Winterbottom looked like he was coming at him. So Greg will be quite happy that the tyres can cool down, get himself organised, make sure you get a good restart. And safety car lights out there, I thought. So we'll just have a look as to whether we're in restart land immediately.
Pretty much everyone should have been a relatively simple clean-up with that little bit of debris that was down there. Yeah, they're still on at the moment.
Still on?
Yeah.
Okay. Yep. Thought I saw them turned off. So Whincup from Davison, Will Davison, Greg Murphy, Mark Winterbottom, Rick Kelly, James Courtney, his teammate Garth Tander, Paul Dumbrell, Shane Van Gisbergen. Great fight back to 9th. Steve Owen is 10th. James Moffat 11th. Coulthard, Holdsworth and Webb. Adrian Burgess talking to Damien White, who's the head of operations, motorsport operations for V8 Supercar. And
one more lap on the safety car by the looks of it.
Yes.
After this safety car, everyone's rears will be shot. Let's see how we go.
So after all that, kind of had that Bathurst feel about it throughout the day, that it was all pointing towards a sprint finish. And what about some of the contenders in this? Whincup, of course, car 88 been the fastest all day. It's been an absolute jet, driven well by Sebastian Bourdais. He could well and truly find himself as not only a winner around the streets of the Gold Coast in an Indy car, but a V8 Supercar as well. Therefore, the first man to do that, Will Davison, partnered with ex-Formula One star Mika Salo, currently in second. Greg Murphy and Ollie Gavin. Oliver did a terrific job. Murph, third at Bathurst a couple of weeks ago, now sitting third here in the last Enduro of 2011. Mark Winterbottom, car 5. With Richard Lyons, that car has been really good at the latter stages of this race. Rick Kelly, well, he's had some battles with Greg Murphy. So Rick's in 5th position. James Courtney, we've already ticked off on the work of Darren Turner in his first ever V8 Supercar drive. Garth Tander and Ryan Briscoe will rue the call to come in, with Ryan not completing his full set of laps, just one short.
Hey, mate, a quick update. I just had a chat to Malcolm Swettenham up there at DJR as to why they did send James Moffat in early. He was losing about 0.4 of a second, so it was done on the basis of tyres. So, yes, they could have maybe left him out a little bit longer. We might just slip around here and see if we can grab a chat with a couple of these international guys. Mika, firstly, all you guys must be wrapped with where you've ended up as a result of what you've done, but your other guys are out there. It's going well.
It's going really well, yeah. It's looking good. It's still a few laps to go, but I'm hoping good. Will's doing an excellent job there.
Richard, just quick question to both of you. International drivers, this event seems to be attracting a lot of interest. I was surprised we got 28 guys so quickly, yeah?
Yeah, well, I think now that we've got Speed TV covering it in America and everything, yeah, I think it's creating a lot of interest. Even my fiance's parents are watching live from Florida at the moment, so hello to them.
All right, mate, great to see you enjoying it.
And he's been in the thick of the battle too, Richard Lyons, so this will be a full-blown fight to the finish. Whincup leads them down. Will Davison behind them. Greg Murphy is third as they come down to turns 1, 2 and 3. Maximum attack out of car 88. Trading Post Falcon tucks in behind him. There's Murphy third. Winterbottom looking good. Rick Kelly. Then James Courtney. Garth Tander's behind him. Winterbottom already goes on the inside. He's been attacking the last laps. Murphy gives him a tap. They go up the back straight. Side by side, up towards the back chicane. Incredible speed, amazing racing. Who's going to blink? Winterbottom just lets Murph slide through. Could have been a catastrophe.
Oh, and Murphy only barely skated out the other side now. Winterbottom comes back side by side to 11.
He's going to run
locked
wide
together, and Frosty locks the front right, drops another couple of car lengths. But seriously,
contact two behind them between James Courtney and Rick Kelly.
You had a better pace than him before.
Patience is the key, but aggression's been the key for Greg Murphy. His co-driver did it in the opening laps of this race, and now Murph, who's in a purple patch at the moment, as Mika Salo and Richard Lyons look on out of Ford Performance Racing over the Pepsi Max crew. They're nervous as well over there, but Murph is really flying and firing.
That was amazing stuff up in the chicane, the back straight, because Mark and I looked at each other here, because eventually you can't get two cars through there side by side. Somebody had to blink, and there was the huge potential of neither of them yielding it, and that would have been a hell of a mess down there. Here comes James Moffat, fresh tyres on this car. He'll be full rich, but he's got a lot of work to do at the moment.
Up to position 9 for Moffat. Lights are on for car 18. Terrific job. In his first ever V8 supercar race around this circuit. There's Garth Tander, behind him Paul Dumbrell. This is game on. The intensity is incredible. They've gone 93 laps to this stage, on the 94th, and we've got a real fight to the finish.
Watch Murphy on the exit here. It slides right up to that wall, and that's as close as you dare. And then because Frosty had to drive shallow through this next right-hand kink, they're virtually into each other, and then he's just locked the front right on the high, or the low side of the camber, I should say, on the dirty part of the road. Here it is again from above. It's just amazing.
One yellow on that lap on the back chicane. 8 to go. 8 to go. That's your
That is
warning.
That is, seriously, very, very fast. And the potential for an accident on the way in there is probably the most dangerous spot on the place. And then they have a bump again down at turn 11. And Murphy, who does always, in terms of car position, races very tough. So he pushed him wide. And there's Dumbrell down the inside of Tander. And James Moffat with good tyres. He'll do the crisscross.
Better traction will get him, launch him off the hairpin strongly in the Jim Beam car, and he'll grab Garth here. They're side by side. We'll wait and see what happens. It's going to be another carbon copy of what we saw a few moments ago, but Tander yields and gives him the line. So Moffat continues this great charge. He's up to 8th. Paul Dumbrell put a move on Tander. So these guys are really into it at the moment. Courtney's next in the firing line. He looks like he's sliding around a little bit. Here we go again. Moffat with grip. Dumbrell's at the limit.
Dumbrell has come out really hard from the restart. But Moffat, better rubber underneath him. A lot of confidence, no question.
Which is what you need on this racetrack. Late in the day, Joey Hand watching. If you've got grip, you can use it here in this late phase of the race.
Tander's getting picked off. This is on board with James Moffat alongside Paul Dumbrell, crossing the control line at the main straight. Down to turn 1, Moffat will get the job done. Great work. Gutsy driving. And he forces Paul Dumbrell into a mistake at the chicane. Fabian Coulthard's on the march as well. That's car 61 on the inside at turn 4.
Now, the traction that he enjoys off the corner will be very useful for James Moffat here. It'll mean that he's got the kind of momentum you need when you want to attack James Courtney. Up at turn 11 will be a reasonable chance for him to have a look, certainly up in that northern complex. Here we are with Mark Winterbottom. This little battle here involves Murphy, Winterbottom and Kelly's just a little adrift now.
6 laps to go, and he's got to stay on because this keeps him on the podium in terms of Murphy's performance. And down the inside, that's a great pass, Moffat. That's not normally a spot where you'd get that pass done.
And that's what I was talking about, with the ability to use the throttle and drive and launch the car. The corner exit speed's up, so the speed is also up. He's full rich, which we've talked about before, so he's able to pour fuel through that car. There's no conservation for James. There is for some of the others.
Whincup leads by 1.2 seconds over Will Davison, but this is where the battle is for third. The third step on the podium. Greg Murphy is holding on.
And this is, that's the spot. That's 4 wheels across the curb. And this is the spot.
Deep move from Mark Winterbottom. Murph puts his elbows out, but he cannot stop Frosty this time.
Good pass.
Meantime, Whincup has done the fastest time we've seen this weekend in the race to the end of Sector 1.
That's all right.
So look at this. Here comes James now on Rick Kelly. This is for position 5. And don't worry about the fuel setting. It's the tyres that are doing the job here at the moment because tyre grip is king for him. This is up in the northern end of the circuit where he put the move on last lap on James Courtney. Picks up the throttle early. Doesn't have to be nearly as calculated and concerned as he eases the throttle in. Stephen Johnson, Joey Hand watching. Whincup again, fastest sector split to the second intermediate. He's got a 2-second lead over Will Davison. Look at the traction off the corner. He's able to just bury it. Now he tries to position himself so he's got the inside run as they make the run down towards turn 1. James Moffat is absolutely flying at the moment. This will take him up to position 5.
Now Rick Kelly's going to hang tight and hang tough down to turn 1. Look at this. Oh, Moffat gets it up on 2 wheels. Somehow avoids the wall on the left-hand side of the circuit.
Yeah,
surely he's got to get Rick soon. There's a gaggle here behind them that has got ugliness written all over it. This job is not done yet. Now Moffat comes up alongside him on the back straight. Beach on the right-hand side. This time, he sails through ahead of Rick Kelly. And James Moffat goes up to 5th spot.
Very good, tenacious drive.
And probably Rick has helped him a little bit there because he knows that straight lining down there in that one complex is not the answer either. It could have been looked at afterwards. Now, while this has all been going on, Whincup's done an 11.6.
And Mark Winterbottom has got around Greg Murphy. So Winterbottom has gone up to 3rd. Will Davison remains in 2nd. Murph is now the next target for James Moffat. He's a couple of seconds back. This one's not done either. Todd Kelly having a look at Paul Dumbrill. There goes Whincup. 2.7 seconds. Will Davison. There's Winterbottom. Murphy. Moffat continuing to charge. Rick Kelly. Fabian Coulthard.
Now, the interesting thing here will be to see whether or not James Moffat can get to Greg Murphy, and if he does he have enough in reserve to be able to make
big moment
into the wall. Garth Tander. And there's damage. There has to be damage to that car. It's wriggling all over the shop. He's trying to get a handle on it. Looks as though it's holding steady for now. Yeah, he'll be furious. So he's in 10th spot. Jonathan Webb's behind him. Michael Caruso's in front of him. Started on the front row of the grid.
James Moffat has done the best split to the 2nd sector on this lap. He's done a 44.6. So he's on target to improve the lap record. Look at this.
2 HRT cars, 2 Fujitsu cars.
Well, he got it from both sides from the Fujitsu car. He got one from the left and then another from the right.
But in lots of ways, he moved it over and there was an overlap. So that's actually, in the end, Garth didn't know where the car was.
Well, there were 2 cars that looked the same in his mirrors.
And
Look
here
at this.
he is.
Look at this. Gee, he's made that ground up so quickly. I questioned whether he could do it. He's done it, and he gets it done cleanly down the inside. James Moffat. This is a mega drive.
That's on the back of the fastest lap of the race by James Moffat at 1:11.3. And he has just gone past one of the most experienced men in our championship. And Joey Hand, the American, who did a rock-solid job in his stint, is appreciating this. Like he said, this is Moff-tastic.
This is great, isn't it? Great to see a young guy standing up in the saddle here, and he is going to close up and be a real threat to the back of Mark Winterbottom's car. He's flying, and 11.3 on new tyres, low fuel in this car, plenty of rich mixture to run through the car. He's got the thing absolutely hunting, so not only is it a lap record, he might get on the podium as a result of this.
Right now, he's equalled his best ever race finish in the V8 Supercar Championship. 4th at Queensland Raceway. He moved to this state to be part of the Dick Johnson racing team. He's loving it here in Queensland.
And remember, he come out of the pits in 13th position. So he's come from 13th to 4th and hunting down the back of the podium. Extraordinary drive. He's using every bit of road. That was so close to knocking the left-hand mirror. No, and the wheels locked on the way in. He did that last lap also. Fantastic.
11.9 on the last lap, even with it skating around like that. So just got to be a little bit careful here. But this is terrific. Great to watch. And he's just made another chunk of time on Mark Winterbottom. A couple of tenths in that first sector.
Todd Kelly going past James Courtney. Tim Slade also. That's at the rear end of the top 10, so Kelly now into 13th. This man doing a terrific job at the back end of the race. 2.9 seconds. They had so many dramas with car 888. Not a thing has gone wrong with car 88.
AJ up, 1 to go.
And he's got a 3-second margin. Whincup over Davison. You can see Will in the background with the headlights on, and then it's Mark Winterbottom. And then you'll see the goal. Jim Beam Racing, Ford Falcon just looming in the background. A couple of laps remaining.
And James Moffat has just done another 111 lap, 111.8. The 3 guys in front of him, 112.2, 112.9, 112.2 again. So he's closing in now on Mark Winterbottom. He can taste his first ever V8 podium.
Yeah, and he's within striking distance, and Murph's having a struggle on these tyres now, as well as Fabian, who's also on younger tyres, puts them to very good use. So don't forget him in the Bundy entry. There's the race leader, and you can see the gap back to Will Davison. So Winterbottom's going to have to get his elbows up high here because Moffat is coming. It's not only third that he could shake the tree for second here at the moment.
This has been a very important day, though, for Jamie Whincup out in front. 12 months ago was where he really hurt in the championship, and it hurt him to relinquish it and hand it over. He's come here this year and will take the title lead back. After an ultra-professional job from Sebastian Bourdais, Jamie Whincup brings it home and takes the championship lead. Second goes to Will Davison, and Mark Winterbottom will hold on for third.
Well done. Fantastic drive.
And we stand up and applaud James Moffat for a brilliant drive on the streets of the Gold Coast. That's his teammate Joey Hand. And Sebastian Bourdais had success here in the Indy Series.
Yeah,
now in the V8 Supercar Series, he's a race winner.
Frosty's got 6 curb hops.
7th race victory of the year for Jamie Whincup.
P4, great drive.
Will Davison back with a vengeance on the soft tyres. Ford Performance Racing have answered the critics. 2nd and 3rd. And that'll be a race to remember for James Moffat and for Joey Hand. His V8 Supercar debut, he absolutely loved it. Another stellar job from Jamie Whincup. So Whincup and Bourdais on the top step of this podium. Sebastian Bourdais will take home a surfboard. Will Davison and Mika Salo, and Richard Lyons, of course, partnering Mark Winterbottom. So Fabian Coulthard and Patrick Long, again, another standout performance from the American. As Shane Van Gisbergen, Emanuele Pirro in 16th position. Steve Owen and Boris Said started from the 2nd row of the grid, and they finished down in 18th. And then the back end, well, the big story, car 888. 0 points, a DNF. It could not have gone any worse for the man who led the championship, Craig Lowndes, coming into today. Will now relinquish it and hand it back to his teammate. So a bittersweet day for Team Vodafone. A 50-point advantage Jamie Whincup will now have
Will Davison was talking to his crew then about having no feel in his feet at all. So may have been a temperature thing in that cabin of the car, or just the constant application with the high grip tyre, really working the brake pedal. But he was really struggling, saying it was sketchy stuff. At the end of the race, he just had no feel in his feet.
Wow, what a finish.
Was a great finish, wasn't it? Yeah.
Well, great job from Will Davison. He just had to control it and keep it steady at the end there, which he did. Mark Winterbottom was on a charge, clearly had more pace, and another lap to go. You reckon James Moffat could have been standing on the podium for the first time in his career, and they will go back throughout this race at DJR and just think about what might have been had the safety car come one lap earlier. The last safety car that was. But at the end of the day, good job. At the end of the day, this was the fastest car. Two very good drivers. Jamie Whincup and Sebastian Bourdais take out race 21. Adrian Burgess and the rest of Team Vodafone celebrating, and Larko's zeroed in on James Moffat.
Hey, James, I feel like congratulating you for winning the race, mate. I know you didn't win, but I reckon another 3 laps you might have. Career-changing stuff, mate. That was outstanding.
Larko, I don't know if I would have been able to catch... Hey, Malcolm, one of those here, mate. One of those here. Oh, good on you, mate. Yeah, look...
he didn't seem to mind, actually.
Imagine if he got on the podium.
Yeah. It had nothing left, and another couple of laps I might have got those FBR cars, which would have been pretty sweet. But proud of the guys. They took a bit of a gamble there in the middle of the race, and it almost paid off for us. But hey, I got to hand it to Joey. What an awesome job he did in the first stint. He handed it over, and the thing was hooked. It was good. Good.
Well done. Well done, boys.
Well, Jamie Whincup and Sebastian Bourdais both celebrating, guys. Congratulations, Jamie. Boy, that's done big things for your championship too.
Yeah, hey, I love the streets of the Gold Coast, and the car was fantastic today, and Seb did an awesome job. He's developed the car on Friday and then handed it over to me in the perfect position. It was just up to me to bring it home.
Seb, congratulations, great team effort.
Yeah. Well, I think we're just going to be complimentary of each other because, he's done it all at the end. So, it wasn't easy. There were a lot of safety car. He had to pull it off at the end and save fuel and save tires. And man, it was a long wait for me outside of the car, I can tell you that.
Guys, a great team. Congratulations. Enjoy the podium. Well done. We jump over to Will Davison and Mika Salo. Will, Mika, congratulations, gentlemen. That was great. What a race home, Will.
It was, Brett. It was an unreal race, and great for FPR to have a 1-2. There was a small time there I thought I had a sniff for the win, and Whincup and I were absolutely on the edge, and I burnt the rear tyres out a bit at the end, but just great for Trading Post, everyone at FPR and Ford, and my man Mika here, he did a mega job at the start. Super impressive.
Mika, your first V8 Supercar podium. Well done.
Thank you. It was great. It was all up to him, and it looked a bit iffy on one stage, but good job.
Rock solid, guys. Congratulations. Well done.
Good stuff. Thanks, guys. Cheers.
So Ford Performance Racing fill out 2 steps on the podium, second and third, and Jamie Whincup and Sebastian Bourdais will head up to the top.